All right, let's do this. Hey guys, I'm Tom the Tech Chap, and I'm pretty excited for this video because not only do I get to unbox and show you two different phones, but I've been looking forward to getting my hands on these new Realme 7 series phones for a while now, and I think when I tell you the specs and crucially the price of these guys, I think you'll be pretty excited as well. This video is very kindly sponsored by Realme. They also sent the phones over, but as always, all my opinions are completely my own. But they got in touch and offered me this early access look at the two phones, and I thought that would be pretty handy for you guys to have a little look at them as well. Now, as you can see, I'm also bringing back the vertical camera, the bird's eye view, so you can see exactly what I'm looking at as we unbox these guys. And the first thing you'll notice is the Pro model is actually a little bit smaller than the standard one. These are quite different phones actually. And what makes it really interesting is the Pro isn't necessarily the better option. It's kind of like what you want in your phone and also of course what your budget is. Let me start with the price because I think that's what's going to catch your attention most, because the 7 here starts at just £179 versus £279 on the Pro. And if we flip these guys over, you can see some of the main specs here, and we're looking at 30-watt dart charging with a whopping 5,000 mAh battery on the Realme 7 versus 65-watt super dart charging and a 4,500 mAh battery on the Pro. So faster charging but smaller battery versus slightly slower charging but much bigger battery. So actually there are quite a few differences, but let's get into the actual unboxing. Let's start with the standard one. It's always a nice touch when they include a case because it just means you don't have to go out and buy one yourself. You've got this little silicone rubber case there so you can keep it safe. And then we've got the phone itself. You can tell I've not even opened this yet. This is a proper unboxing. Let's just tip these out. So this is the 30-watt dart charger for the 7 and a USB-A to USB-C cable. So that's the 7, but then if we just open up the Pro, see if there's anything different, which I don't think there will be. Got the same case, and actually a bigger charger, not doing that very smoothly. This is the Super Dart charging, 65 watt, as well as the same cable. So the only difference really is obviously the phone and also the size and speed of the charger. Alright, so now we've got them unboxed and set up. In my left hand here with the blue background, we've got the standard Realme 7, and then in my right here with the red background is the 7 Pro, because as you can see, there isn't a whole lot of difference between them, although around the back you can see, while they are both quad camera setups, the style of the module is a little bit different. But they both come with what Realme call this AG split design. So with this sort of matte glass back, you can see when it hits the light, you've got this sort of line on one side, which kind of makes it look a little bit more interesting. It stands out from the crowd. So I've got the Realme 7 here in mist blue, but you can also get it in mist white, and the 7 Pro is in mirror silver, but there's also a mirror blue. On the right hand side, we've got the power button, although on the standard 7, it actually doubles as a side fingerprint reader, whereas we get an in-screen optical reader on the Pro. Both phones give us stereo speakers and also a headphone jack, which is always good to see. And then on the left, we've got the volume rocker and the SIM card tray. Now actually, both phones have a bit of a party trick. I've not seen this on a phone, at least not one that I've used, but if we use the SIM card ejector tool, both phones actually have this quite unique looking triple slot design. So what that means is you can have two SIM cards, it is 4G, both phones are 4G, which is fair enough, I think, given the price, and also it's not exactly an essential feature right now, I don't think, 5G, but you can expand the storage as well as having dual SIM, so I think that's actually really useful and something that does set these phones apart. There isn't any formal IP rating, but Realme do say that this does have some splash resistant features, so I suspect this will survive using it in the rain, but I probably wouldn't take it in the shower with me. Also, both the Realme 7 and the 7 Pro are the first ever smartphones to pass the TÜV Rheinland smartphone reliability verification, which is pretty reassuring actually, so build quality is very good. Now this is where things get a little bit more interesting because, as I say, the Pro isn't necessarily the better phone. Firstly, in terms of the screen, you can see the Pro here actually has better view angles, and that's because we get a Super AMOLED panel versus an LCD here, so you are getting better contrast and slightly richer colors on the Pro, but this is actually a 60Hz screen, whereas we're getting 90Hz refresh rate on the 7. So you kind of have to weigh up, do you want a 60Hz AMOLED or a 90Hz LCD? Not only that, but if we jump into the settings menu on both and then go to About Phone, you can see I've got the top spec models of both here with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 storage, but you can also see the Pro has a Snapdragon 720G, that's a Qualcomm processor, versus the MediaTek, well, it just says octa-core processor here. So of course my first question is, which is faster, the Snapdragon or the MediaTek? Well, I fired up a bit of Geekbench 5, and actually in terms of processor performance, they're pretty neck and neck. You can see the Snapdragon is ever so slightly faster in single core. But then, just look at these OpenCL scores, which is kind of testing the graphics performance. And you can see the MediaTek chip is almost twice as fast as the Snapdragon. So the standard 7, I think, really is more aimed at gamers, because firstly we have that 90 Hz refresh rate, we've got a bigger 5,000 mAh battery versus 4,500 on here, and then we've got that much better graphics performance. Both phones do feel pretty fast though, and every app and game I tried ran smoothly on both. But of course you do want that extra graphics performance from this if you are going to take advantage of the 90 Hz, because you're going to want to get 90 FPS in games that support it. So that extra graphical grunt will come in handy to sort of max out this higher refresh rate. We also get a carbon fiber cooling system on the 7. Now I don't have a ton of details about this, although I'm guessing the material is a good conductor of the heat away from the chip, which then helps to keep it cool. So you're still getting the highest frame rate possible even in longer gaming sessions. Software-wise, we get Android 10 with the Realme UI skin on top. There's very little bloatware and it's fast and easy to use. Now let's talk about these cameras, because I think that's where the Pro, which I have here, is going to come into its own. Both phones do have quad setups with a main lens, as well as an ultra-wide, a macro, and also a black and white sensor, which they say helps to capture more light and therefore gives you more detail and better contrast in your photos. Now, to be honest, I don't really find having a macro lens that helpful, although it seems every phone manufacturer and their dog seems to be just chucking one in anyway. I guess it's an extra option, but the quality isn't that good. But I do like the fact we've got an ultra-wide lens on both, so there's the usual range of options from night mode, video, photo, portrait, full resolution of the lens, and then under more, you've got the macro sensor. You can go to expert mode if you want to tweak all the settings. Video with the rear camera tops out at 4K 30, although on the front, if we switch the selfie, it's 1080p 30, not 4K. Now last but not least, let's talk about battery life and charging, because while the 7 does have a bigger battery, we're looking at 5,000 milliamps versus 4,500 on the 7 Pro, so a slightly smaller battery, we do get much faster charging with this. So this Super Dart 65 watt charger will get you from 0 to 50% or about 50% in just 12 minutes, whereas the standard 30 watt, so still pretty fast, Dart charger for the 7 will get you 0 to 100 in about an hour and 5, although unfortunately neither of these guys support wireless charging. Alright, so I appreciate that was a pretty long unboxing video. I think you can hear my voice start to get a bit horsey, but it is really interesting to see the differences between these two phones. On the one hand, the standard 7, which is cheaper, starting at £179, we obviously have the 90 Hz screen, the faster graphics performance, and also the bigger battery. So I think if gaming is a priority, or you just want the best battery life possible, then the 7 is the one to go for. Whereas the 7 Pro is a kind of like a better all-round phone with a Super AMOLED screen, the higher quality camera, and of course also the much faster 65 watt Super Dart charging. So it kind of comes down to what you want. It's a bit of a shame that you kind of have to pick and choose, like we don't get a 90 Hz Super AMOLED for example. But overall, I mean, with the premium design, the solid performance, good battery life, and surprisingly capable camera setup, I think given the price, these are both definitely phones to look out for. And as I say, I will be doing a more in-depth look at both of these very soon, so make sure you have subscribed and stay tuned for that. But first impressions, which one would you go for, the 7 or the 7 Pro? Let me know in the comments below. Also, the Realme 7 series comes with a 3-year warranty and 2 months free replacement policy, which is a year and a month longer respectively than most phone brands offer, which is a nice bonus. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you do want to see more from me, then don't forget to hit that little subscribe button below, and I'll catch you next time right here on the Tech Chat.